Well, this show is called Mastering Business Growth because we are trying to master business growth. So we're doing that by speaking to people like yourself who are doing very well in business. So Claire, can we please start with who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Claire Agutter. I'm based in York. I've been running my own business now for 18 years. I'm currently on my second business. Both of them are in the tech space. So the first business was all about e-learning. This business is monetising IP, I guess, is the core way to describe it, but that includes a community, it includes events, and it includes building relationships with big companies in the tech space. So that's kind of what would be good to talk about today.
Yeah, sure. Was that always the plan, or is this a slow evolution that became what it now is today?
The business that we're sort of focused on now was a side hustle initially. So I had my e-learning business, which was, it was really good, but when we were writing training that was based on other people's intellectual property. So there's all sorts of rules around that, and the syllabuses keep changing, and I was just getting a bit frustrated, and I thought, wouldn't it be nice if I had my own little business where I could have a sandpit and just play in it and have ideas. So we set Scopism up 8 years ago. And at the time, my big idea was virtual consultancy. So I was like, wouldn't it be great if you could work with a consultant in New Zealand if you're in London, and you don't have to buy them for weeks and weeks at a time. If you just need a couple of hours of advice, or you just need somebody to hold your hand while you're in a new job, wouldn't that be great? So I set up this separate website. So company name, bought a domain, paid someone to do me a logo and set up the website, reached out to my network, all the independent consultants, and said, do you want to sign up and be on my register? Yeah, great. Went to market with it, and just nobody cared. Like, no one was interested. It was just tumbleweed. And I think had it been COVID time, or even now post-COVID time, it would have been a much easier sell, but everybody was still at that point, still stuck in the, no, people have to come to site and we have to see them to prove that we're getting our money's worth. So that bit was doing nothing. But at the same time, so I work in IT, and there's a subset of IT which is called IT service management. And that is all the processes that you put in place to run IT effectively. So, for example, if your online banking goes down and you ring a help desk, there's a process then that's triggered to say, well, who are you? How important is this? Is anybody else affected? And that runs in the background. Change management is another example. Sometimes when you go to your online banking, it doesn't work, and it's because something's changed, and then they have to roll it out. So that's kind of the space that I was working in. There's an even smaller subset of that, which is called service integration and management, which is SIAM for short. And that is basically when you have an IT system that is built from lots and lots of different companies. So you might have Microsoft in there doing bits of it. You've got app developers, you've got hardware companies. You've got to kind of knit all of these pieces together in order to make it work. And that can be really difficult. Again, if you think something goes wrong, and you go to the app developer, and the app developer will say, no, it's definitely not the application. Have you tried the network team? And then the network team say, no, we weren't doing anything. Try the hardware guys. No, it might be security. So service integration and management is kind of guidance as to how you get all of this stuff pulled together.
Like consolidation, basically.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And just looking at the big picture rather than being focused on a tiny little bit of somebody's contract that you're trying to manage. So it came out of UK government, but at the time when I was setting my business up, there wasn't a book or a website. So if somebody was interested in it and thinking this might work for my business, there was nowhere they could go to find out any more information. So while I'm playing in my sandpit business, I thought, well, I'll get some of my friends from my network together and let's write a book. So I pulled together, that was about 40 people for the first one. And we did like calls, we argued about terminology, and eventually we created this book. And we made it available for free because it's a big thing for me. You know, volunteers contributed to it, so we've then made that available for free. We've had tens of thousands of downloads since that book first went out, and then everything kind of grew from there. So the bit that I was excited about but had no business plan for whatsoever, no clue about how to monetize, that was the bit that took off. And then we went, oh, okay.
Is that what led to building the community?
It is. So we did the book, and then we signed a partnership with a certification business. So suddenly there's exams available all around the world. So we get a small royalty from the exams. Then we did a conference, and people went, yeah, conference is good. And then they said, can we have another book? So we were like, yeah, we'll write another book. And then it was just kind of, people want a space to hang out. So we set up an online community, and all of this stuff, I mean, the conference isn't free, but the community, the books, it's all free. So the big challenge that we had was we've got this amazing piece of intellectual property. We've got this thriving community. We've got Steph, who's our community manager, who's just wonderful. Now we need to figure out how to actually put a revenue model underneath it, because this has gone from side hustle to actually really exciting, fully functioning business.
It's about 3,000 members, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's massive. Well, we've spoken to quite a few people who've come on this show now. I'd say about 5 who intentionally use the community marketing model.
Yeah.
They do that. They basically create a reason for people to gather around. They're effectively the overlord from it, and they'll introduce people. That's it. They'll build relationships with people in these groups, and they'll start referring each other to, you need so-and-so. And they're taking commissions and whatnot. So it's really about building that community and making introducer fees and stuff like that. Not just that, it's an opportunity to sell your own service. Yeah. Kind of like what we do here with the podcast. It's kind of a reason to meet a lot of the right people and go from there. Have you explored any of those things yet?
So we have explored quite a lot, and one of the things that we did, because the initial Scopism team was like me and my husband, that was it. And then we brought in the community manager, and now we've got somebody who does marketing for us and PR. And then when we decided this is where we were going to focus, we brought in a couple of other people as well. So we've got like a fractional CFO now, and we've got a commercial director. And one of the things that they did quite early on was to sit me down and go, I know you get very excited about things, but where's the money coming from? How are you going to support this business? So, I mean, prior to that, like, we had been doing well with consultancy. So like you say, you know, people come into the community and say, can you help us with this? And we'd say, well, you know, we'll build you a team from our network and we'll run that. So we've had kind of $1 million plus consultancy engagements, but that's not where we want to go. I don't want to run a consultancy business. I want to run the intellectual property business and continue to develop the best practice and give people access to that. So the model that we've landed on, we considered things like, you know, charging people to join the community. We don't think that's going to fly. And even with 3,000 members, for a sort of a low membership fee, it doesn't turn into a lot of actual revenue for the business unless you can persuade people to pay, you know, hundreds of pounds a year, which most people, they won't. They're not going to do that. We explored kind of upsells in the community. So we've got some little things like we record our conference presentations and then we put them into the community, and people who didn't go to the conference can pay a small fee and access those. But again, it's small amounts of revenue. So we thought we need something that is going to deliver something a bit larger than this. And what we've landed on is basically corporate partnerships. So we are now going to the really, really big organisations that are generating millions and millions of dollars of revenue in the SIAM space and saying, you know, partner with us, in effect, sponsor us, work with us for a year. What we'll do for you is we'll give you an organisational accreditation. So we'll look at how you do SIAM, and we'll give you a badge and a report that you can take to market, and that gives you a bit of a differentiator. We'll work with you throughout the year then to produce a couple of pieces of content, which could be a case study, it could be a white paper, it might be a virtual event, it might be a webinar like this. And we'll just, we'll have that strong relationship for a year. And there's a commercial sense to it, because they then have more opportunity to position themselves as thought leaders. But there's also a kind of a giving back element to it as well, because ultimately what they're doing is sponsoring the community, and all the people who come into that who are brand new to SIAM as well. They're giving them an opportunity to access content. So there's like a financial business case to it, but there's also just a corporate good element to it as well. So we have two organisations signed up already. We've got HCL Tech and Infosys. We are talking to. We've probably got 5 kind of really good conversations happening at the moment. And then we kind of hope that will grow, because ultimately for us as a business, we don't want to take over the world. And if we've got 10 to 15 partners just kind of recurring yearly, that gives us more than enough revenue to pay the bills, to kind of maybe bring in a couple of extra people, and just to continue to grow the best practice in the community. So it is a micro entity strategy. It's not, I'm going to come back on this next year and I've got 12,000 employees. That's not
you
where
never
we
know.
want to be.
I think you could be missing a trick here, because like you said, about 3,000 people in the community. And we were talking about this upstairs. I said, how close are you with these? Because it could be that if you were on like a texting basis with, like you say, even just a couple of hundred of them, there could be some mad referrals going on there. I'd be curious, what kind of companies are in there, like in terms of their sector, what size they are? What kind of companies are in there?
It's everything. I think the last count, we had people from 93 countries in the community. Wow. And we've got everything from sort of one-man band consultancies through to these massive, multi-billion-dollar multinational organisations.
I'd be making them my best pals.
That's the plan. But we've also got what we class in our space as kind of supply side organisations. So that is companies like Infosys and HCL, but then the customer organisations. So the companies that are actually implementing SIAM in their organisation. So that's like banks, universities, energy companies, it's government from all around the world, anywhere with kind of big, complex IT systems is in the community. And we also have sort of entry-level people, so university students and above, and then we've got people who pretty much retired but still like to have the conversation and get involved. So it is a real breadth, and I think that does create almost challenges in itself from a community perspective, because you've still got to serve everybody's needs.
Mm. What do you have to do to run a community? What sort of challenges are there? I don't know the first thing about running a community, but more and more people turn into it, particularly as a reason to attract people and get to know them, which inevitably turns into business.
I think one of the things that's driving communities taking off is the fact that the big platforms that we all use are degenerating, and the level of noise and advertisements. If you think about like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter has got its own issues as well. But I remember 10 years ago on LinkedIn, things like the groups on there were actually really deep, meaningful conversations, whereas now it's just, hey, buy my training, do this. So I think we're seeing a need for specialisation, which kind of screams community immediately. And then it gives people somewhere to come. So we didn't know anything about running a community either.
How come you started one?
We were chatting with a couple of big companies, and they were kind of saying, we'd be really interested in working with you to start a community. So we were like, that sounds like quite a good idea. They didn't actually end up working with us to start the community. But in the meantime, we'd got giddy and thought, we could do something with this. So we're kind of tech people, so I must admit we started looking at platforms first. But we started doing platform evaluation. Then we hired in a community manager. She's a scientist by education and by experience. She knew nothing about communities either, but she was like, when you meet someone, you think that's the person that we want, and we'll teach you whatever it is you need to know. So she did a lot of research. So we chose a platform. It's quite customizable, so we started putting a structure together, and then we just floated the idea out there that on this day we're going to launch a platform. I think we had one sponsor in place at that point as well. I think we had HCL there in the very early days. One of the things we did that I think helped us enormously was we moved our free IP into the community. So now anybody who wants to download that book and all the other stuff that we have in there, we've got like white papers and research, but anybody who wants to do that comes into the community. And then what we have to do is when they arrive is show them that actually this is somewhere that's worth you coming back to as well. There are things in here that can help you. So I think some of the growth that we experience is because we have this steady stream of people who just want to come and download our IP. But then because they can then see the conversations, the opportunity to ask a question, we have events going on constantly, and that kind of helps to convince them to come back. So in terms of how you run a community, the word is grooming, which is not the best word, but you have to like continually groom the community and work on the relationships and make it kind of a safe and welcoming space as well, because particularly in a professional environment, sometimes people come in and they won't feel comfortable to ask a question or answer a question. They don't want to look stupid or they don't want to get in trouble. So, I mean, to be fair, we've been going a year and a half now, and I'd kind of anticipated we would have had more problems by now, but actually people have been unbelievably well behaved, welcoming, respectful to each other, and I think that element of it has been wonderful. But I mean, one kind of example of the ongoing grooming is Steph set up something called Siam Socials, which is it's just a time in the calendar, and people just come into a virtual room, and there's no agenda, there's no nothing. It's literally just a space to chat. And the first few of those, like the first one was quite busy, second one not so much. Then we'd maybe get one person or two people that would come. And I said to Steph, just maybe knock them on the head. Maybe people don't want to do that. But she's persevered with them. And now they're really nice, and you get this little group of people who come to chat. So we have kind of every opportunity to interact, from literally just come and watch videos all the way through to you be the one answering questions, you be the one coming to webinars, and then you give everybody kind of an outlet for whatever it is they want.
So the people that can join the community, it's open to anybody if you're an expert.
Yeah.
Or I'll hold my hand up. I don't really know too much about Siam, and like obviously know quite a bit about IP and stuff, but could I just join?
Yep.
Can anybody join?
Yep, anyone can join. It's free. It's like a really simple sign-up process. So if you look for the Scopism website, there's links through to the community, or you can find the platform circle, so you can find us on there as well. But anybody can join, and then when you go in, there's like a sort of a joining flow. So there'll be some information, say, go to the introductory thread and introduce yourself. Here's where you'll find this, this, and this. And as somebody who is brand new to Siam, you'd probably go and say, all right, well, I want the body of knowledge, and I'd like the white papers and the research, and I want to have a look at those. Or it might be you just come in and, ask a question about how does Siam work with what I'm doing at the moment, and that sits in Ask the Community. And that's another brilliant thing Steph's done, actually. She's taken, I think we've got 10 people from the community now who've really contributed. So they get like a community champion badge, and she meets them regularly, and the community champions come in, and if there's a question and nobody's really answering, one of the champions will jump in and do that. So she's kind of really encouraging participation from that perspective as well.
That's really good. So with one thing that we always talk about is like business development. And do you find with the community that you don't have to be sending? I mean, what is your business development strategy?
We're looking for a small number of high value commercial relationships.
So the volume almost doesn't matter, the fact that there's loads of people in there.
The volume matters from that potential partner perspective. So it's kind of, I think of it as like a virtuous cycle, because a healthy community looks good to potential partners, and then, you know, they want to contribute more, and that helps us develop the community. So it's
like social proof. Almost.
Yeah, it all kind of feeds off each other. But in terms of business development, we've almost started again this year with the sort of the partner package and the organisational accreditation. So what we've done initially is work our immediate network. So we've got conversations happening with companies that we've been talking to, some of them for longer than the community's existed, but kind of that was the initial, and that was very helpful in terms of testing the idea as well, and what are the potential objections going to be. So that helps us improve the story. Then we had an online event. So we kind of launched our partner package at a virtual event. And again, we were very targeted as to the people we wanted to have there. So that brought in a whole, some of it was new companies, but some of it is kind of new people at the companies we're already talking to. But because these are such massive, massive organisations, the person I know might not be the right person. You know, they might be in a completely different division in another country, and it's completely different. So that has then again boosted the inquiries. So where we are at the moment is in this kind of dialogue stage where we're talking to these companies, and we're hoping we get sort of 3 to 5, Q1, Q2 next year. And then what we expect to happen from there is that momentum builds, because there's kind of a competitive tier of organisations, and there is a little bit of FOMO there in terms of, oh, well, they've signed up for that, and we were thinking about it, but now they've done it, we should really do it.
We need that on our website.
Yeah.
That's been a huge part of what we've been doing recently.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people like podcasts. I know people are doing them, but I don't know why or how. And the more people that have come through, like, oh, they're doing one. Like, oh shit, they're doing one now as well.
Yeah.
What is it again? You know, it does help. It's massive.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that whole social proof. Do you know, I want to go one little further on to what Ryan asked. So obviously, when you work with massive organisations, there has to be a lot of trust there, and it's all about how close you are with people. What is your approach to building a strong relationship?
I'm thinking about this because I'm one of those people that if you said to me, go to a networking event, I would rather do literally anything else. I would find that unbelievably challenging. But what I've come to realise over the past few years really is just how important network is, and how I've kind of got an accidental network. You know, I had a call last week with one of these potential organisations, and the person that I'm speaking to was my boss in one of my first IT jobs like 20 years ago. And we just happened to have kept in touch. And I think probably that would be my approach to building relationships, is keeping in touch with people. It's having a two-way relationship, you know, because we all have those people who just ring us up and like, can you do this for me? Can you do that? But nothing ever comes back the other way. So I think it's two-way opportunities in a relationship, but it is just keeping in touch, and that gets harder the bigger your network grows. And one of there's somebody I've got a huge amount of respect for who used to be VP of innovation at a massive software company. He's an unbelievably senior guy. He's amazing at keeping in touch. Every now and then you just get a WhatsApp. How are things?
How's it going?
How's the dog? You know, how's life?
Just a meme.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly like that. There
So
was
real to the point where you almost don't realise it's a relationship.
yeah.
Because there's lots of people that, when it's in business, it feels very formal. Oh, a contact.
Yeah.
Someone in my network. But it's not meant to be that. It's meant to be an actual pal.
Yes.
That's a paradigm shift I've had recently, whereas there's no such thing as a business contact.
Yes.
There is just people.
Yeah.
There's people you know. There's people you can have a chat with. And that is it. And the more people you know,
Yeah.
genuinely know, the more chance you have of winning business. Maybe not from them, maybe someone they know.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
So
all
the
that
thing
matters.
is, you don't need to. I mean, we've had a similar kind of discussion, but I think it adds to the point. But do you know what I mean, you don't have to be speaking to somebody every week or
No.
every month. A check-in every 6 months, because if they're going to be, do you know what I mean, somebody's looking for the accreditation, that you don't know what's in somebody's strategy or whatever they're doing at that point. And it's
Yeah.
like, if you badger me so much, look, Q2,
Yeah.
I want this on my website.
Yeah.
But look, you sending me these. I mean, is there a bad meme? Can you get a bad meme? Most are funny. But do you know, if somebody's just pecking you constantly, and
Yeah.
it's like, it puts you off. But if
Yeah.
you're just there, I suppose the community, basically, the point I'm trying to make is if you've got the community, they know somebody other in the community themselves, you're just staying relevant by being there.
Yeah.
And when they go, actually, now I'm ready, they're going to think of you first.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I heard. That's like a sales thing, isn't it? The only reason people buy from you is because they need what you offer and they thought of you last.
Yeah.
That's it. So if you have something like a community and people are constantly reminded that you exist, when
Yes.
the time comes, that's it. Because there is no magic word you can say to someone that will make them buy what you are selling now.
Yeah.
They can just know what you do, they can know you, and they can think of you when the time is there.
Do you know, it's so right. It's like the emails that you get in your inbox, and you know, you'll get an email every day. Do you want to buy some shoes? No. Shoes? No. Shoes? No. Shoes? No. Then one day you're like, oh yeah, actually I do need some shoes. And it's just, it's that right message at that right time. And one thing I think we do well is we do the kind of the social media piece as well. So we have the community, but we also, we do a lot on LinkedIn. We do online events that run on LinkedIn and in the community. We do Twitter. We do PR. So we kind of place articles in publications as well. That helps. And because every now and then I'll chat to somebody that I know and they're like, oh yeah, saw you on my LinkedIn feed again. I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry. But everything we do, because again, I mean, my LinkedIn network is like 7,000 people, I think now. They don't all see every single bit of content that I put into my feed, but every now and then they might get that right thing in front of them at the right time, and it's, I think we were chatting about before. You always wish there was some magic formula to making the right connection, making I've got something to sell, you want to buy, to making that connection. And if I look back over my business history, there is no single repeatable formula. The biggest wins that I've had have come from the most obscure places. That massive consultancy gig that we got came in through our contact form, and the first email that came through was so brief and it looked a bit weird. I was this close to going, that's just spam.
Yeah.
It was kind of, my company wants to do business with your company, please fill in the form attached. And I'm looking at this
That's spam, that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the attachment thinking, I'm not sure I even want to click on that to open it. So, but we kind of checked that it was a real person on LinkedIn and things, and then went, oh yeah, we'll fill it in. And that turned into something absolutely huge for us. So, but I think the one constant that has been through my whole career has been people. And we're just at the moment in the process of kicking off like a body of knowledge refresh. Next year, we're going to update the books. So we had a launch event for that. We put out a sort of a register your interest form, and we've got 130 people now who want to be involved. So me and the other two sort of lead architects sat on a call this morning and went, what? How are we going to manage this then?
What is a problem you've solved that you're most proud of? Might be a deep thinker, that one.
I'm genuinely stumped because to me, everything in business is a problem. Like every day there's a new problem. And I always thought that there were real business people who knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
We were talking about this last week.
Yeah.
You kind of like, what is it like? Again, I think LinkedIn's very good. All social media. You know,
Yes.
You know what I mean? On Facebook, I see people and it's like, I've got the best life. I'm drinking the best premium lager.
Yeah.
You see them in Tesco and they're like falling apart. They've got one shoe on. Like, how are you getting by? But then if I look at your social media, it makes me feel jealous. But I think, again, this thing that LinkedIn, everyone's like, oh, yes, like you were kind of touching on. But then you speak to business owners or you speak to people and it's kind of like,
Yeah.
Well, it's anxiety-based marketing. Everyone's out there going, oh, so-and-so don't know what they're doing, but I do. And it's like, they figured it out. My God. Because I haven't, I certainly have not. And turns out no one has.
No, and I meet people and they just have this confidence, quite often based on not a lot. But I think, they really know what they're doing. They're amazing. And I think, I did some collaborative work with a guy who'd been CEO of massive companies. And it reached the point where we needed to price something. And for us, pricing is always a difficult conversation because it's like, well, how much should we charge for this? And you go,
Is that how it is every time? There's no packages per se. It's always... Yeah, we've dipped away from that entirely because it's just too messy.
We started trying to do packages, but I was working with this guy and I was thinking, this is great. I'm going to get a masterclass. I'm going to learn. And we got to the pricing bit and he went, so what do you think we should charge for this? And I went, but yeah, I think I'm in a way, I'm letting go of any deep thinking beyond the next sort of 3 months because I've been through, I've done an MBA, I've been through there's like a Goldman Sachs growth accelerator and all of it is about, growth plans, where do you want to be in 12 months, where do you want to be in 5 years, and you make this massive document and you've got targets and you've got this and you've got that, and then something changes, either inside your world or outside your world, something changes. And I've heard of this concept now of emergent strategy, which is, not trying to impose your thinking on the world. It's looking at the direction your business is evolving in and building your strategy from that. So reading the market signals. And I think that's much more suitable to an organisation of our size. So it's kind of, it's a lot more fluid. You'd call it agile in the IT space. You know roughly where you want to go, but you're not sort of laying out this micro detailed plan of how you're going to get there because that will evolve as you move. Yeah. So we have these, I'm not really answering the question here, but I'm just talking about where my brain is at the moment. But we kind of, you have the things, you have to be able to pay salaries, you have to be able to pay your tax bill, you have to do your VAT returns on time, things like that. These are the sort of the core components of running a business. But beyond that, I think there is a real freedom in just being a lot more open to opportunity. And same for yourselves. The transformation that you've gone through it's still fundamentally a similar type of business.
It's microphones and stuff like that.
You sort of, your hard assets are the same, but the approach is absolutely transformed.
Well, I'll tell you what, Claire, we'll call it there. But I speak for myself and Ryan. That was great. Really enjoyed that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.